Evening, everyone. Welcome back to Hogwarts Legacy. I'm Professor McCoy. Let's get back right into it. Back into Soren's story. I am a little tired tonight, so I don't know if I'm gonna go all the way into midnight. We'll see. I'll go for it, but if I wind up cutting out a little early, hopefully you will forgive me. It's been a long hurricane these last 36 hours or so. Um, Thankfully, no real destruction, no severe serious damage. Um, that said, I will add that on the note of the hurricane, um, Ian turned out to have been worse than expected. We got another inspector to come out for our roof. As it turns out, we're going to need to replace our roof. So um, we're going to be wrestling with insurance, but there is a fair chance that is going to be quite the expense. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll pull it together. But no, that's how it's going. But thankfully, at the very least, we did not have to deal with Hurricane Idalia. It was Idalia, right? Whatever it was, this recent one. Didn't do anything too severe. It was just a bit of rain, a bit of wind, wind gusted only to like 30 miles an hour, which is nothing around here. That's an average thunderstorm. Mandrake. Okay. Visibility and Thunderbrew. Okay. Get what I need for both of those. I'll brew them. Keys. I'm gonna go for that one. Hopefully in the process I'll find some things I need for those potions. Maybe use a mandrake. Do I have a mandrake? Don't have a mandrake. Need seeds, don't I? No potions either. Okay. Well, that means I need to get mandrake seeds. Forgot about that. Anyway. Weirdly quieter on Hogsmeade tonight. Don't know if I like this. Any seeds I'm missing here from the golden
Come on in.
the golden deep? Magic deep.
Oh yes.
Got everything I need there.
No one can say I don't keep a stacked shelf.
Yes, thank you. Alright, anyway, so yeah. Idalia did basically nothing to us, so the damage really was already there. So again, it's just going to be one of those fights with the insurance company and how it goes. If you don't know how it goes, consider yourself blessed. Oh man. Anyway, though, it shouldn't be too well. I mean, I'm sure it'll be trouble, but it'll be one of those things spread out over a great deal of time. So we'll see how things keep going as they progress. In any case, the only problem introduced by the storm, we didn't even lose power, really. I think we got a small power blink yesterday.
But your things will be safe with me until they're sold. Then you'll have to make do with money.
That seems to imply that there was a pawn system in this game at some point. Need mandrake seeds.
Oh, I'm always thrilled when a young one makes a wise purchase. I can tell you'll go far.
I should just get all three of them. Tentaculars. I mean, I can afford it, but I'm gonna hold off for now. I only need to do mandrakes. I'll get chomping cabbages. I like the cabbages.
When a young one makes a wise purchase, I can tell you'll go far.
I'll come back for the tentacula at some point.
Hogsmeade, here I come.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can find where those candles are and find the treasure. In the meantime, Even though there was no real damage, and like I said, power just sort of blinked for us once yesterday. Otherwise, the only real problem was a middle of the night tornado warning. There were some tornadoes spotted touching down relatively nearby us. As far as I know, there weren't any. I haven't heard any fatalities or anything on the news. And, there hasn't been anything too big as far as damage goes, thankfully. So again, even that could have been far worse. I think it's over here by this bridge.
Revelio.
Okay. But the tornado warning managed to wake us up. Us meaning Erica and I. And we, out of perhaps an excess of caution, but better safe than sorry, certainly with such things. Got the kids up and went to our walk-in closet where there aren't any windows, that sort of thing. So we were safe just in case a storm did come by, a tornado did come by. So that was quite the ordeal, because that was about 4:30 in the morning. We all woke up. We all got up. We all gathered in there. It was about an hour till everyone tried to get back to sleep, and then the kids wouldn't go back to sleep. They were scared. So I was up for a while longer. Then Erica stayed up with them and took a nap through midday. So it's been quite a thing. That now. Okay, here we go. It'd be notes, right? Okay, so I need Lumos on this side of the bridge, near that archway, I guess.
Lumos.
Ah!
Enchanted candles.
Hello!
Wonder where they're heading.
Hang on. We put Reparo in there. I don't think I'll need it, but you never know.
The candles seem to be leading into the Forbidden Forest.
This is the same route the butterflies took, isn't it? Last time? Yeah. Interesting. I don't remember if I did this last time. I don't think I did. Last time through, I'm not sure I did this one. No, because it was a quest, so I did do it. Back here. We're going candles. There's extreme danger over here. What do you think you're doing?
The treasure must be nearby.
Uh-huh.
I suppose a picnic in the Forbidden Forest could seem romantic to some.
Yeah, no, I get it. Other than, extreme danger, there's a spider nest nearby, there's those frog thingies.
Treasure hunting suits me.
Treasure seeker's scarf, nice. Alright, cool. Now, let's go to the room of requirement, shall we? Do some planting. And do some brewing. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, that's we've been up a while, and that's rough. Also, as I mentioned on Monday, conveniently ish, our classes were canceled on Tuesday or yesterday. And that unfortunately means that we did not get to start the semester on anything like a reasonable start. Instead, we started the semester with a day off. And our first day of actual classes... Wait, was that not... Oh, that was... Oh, it was this one. Okay. Alright, got it. Our first day of actual classes is tomorrow. Now, our university, St. Leo, celebrates the Mass of the Holy Spirit with a sort of as a beginning of the semester sort of invitation to Mass, invitation to communion, and all that wonderful stuff. Shrivel Fig and Stench of the Dead. Okay. I needed, what was the other one? Invisibility. I need Troll Bogies. Oh my god. So I need to fight Inferi. Well, first of all, Shrivel Fig, I can grow some of those. And then I need to fight Inferi and Trolls. Great. Okay. Put a Mandrake in here. I need one of those. And where's Shrivel Fig? One of those. 12 minutes. Okay. What next, then?
Dick thinks you should be proud of all the potions you've brewed.
Yeah. Not that many. I could and should. Yeah, brew some more Ditme. I mean, honestly, Thunderbrew is the only really useful potion. Spell cooldowns is okay. Damage resistance is okay. Spell damage is alright. But honestly, Thunderbrew and Invisibility are the useful ones. And of course, they are the ones that have the very hard to find ingredients. Naturally. Even Felix Felicis is much easier to find, which is just silly. Just silly. Alright. Let me see, what other quests do we have? Yeah, so Mandrake. Come back for that. Invisibility and Thunderbrew. Telling the keys now. Okay, so that means we need to fight Inferi and we need to fight Trolls. And I need to find where they are. So, map it is. World map. Where would there be Trolls or Inferi? Now, I know there's some Inferi down here by Feldcroft. And there's some up here by Upper Hogsfields. But that's very far. That's really out of the way. Geften. Aura Ruins. What are these for? Guardian Leviosa. Oh, god, that's really useful. Defendo is nice. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's very nice. What if I could just buy the ingredients? I'm gonna go to Pippin's. I'm gonna go to Pippin's Potions. See if he's got ingredients. I could just buy the potions. You know, honestly, I'm just gonna buy the potions. Why would I not do that? It's not like I get experience from brewing potions or whatever. It's purely an exercise in frustration.
Than Hogsmeade.
Oh wait, he's right here. Literally right here. We'll see. If it's substantially cheaper, that's another thing too.
Healing potions are a speciality here. Thank you again for delivering those potions to my
They're 100 piece versus
me a lot of time and
500 piece.
trouble.
Yeah, that's why.
A
Buy one of
wise
those.
Decision. Thank you.
And one of those. Good. I only need one of each. I will find the others. Eventually.
I hope to see you again. Farewell for now.
Okay, cool. Let's go back. Cool. Then, after this, we wait for the Mandrake to grow. Go use that. I think it has to be used on enemies. 7 minutes. I've got everything I need for this, right? Yeah. Excellent. Thunder Brew. I still need that Shrivel Fig for the Thunder Brew. Okay.
Deke thinks you should be proud of all the potions you've brewed.
Invisibility potion I can just use. Right, that, yeah. Cool. Already used. Excellent. Then we wait 7 minutes for that. The Mandrake, 9 minutes for the Shrivel Fig. We'll come back for all that. What other quests we got? Just Daedalian Keys and the actual story quest. I'd like Wingardium Leviosa at least first for this one, but... Let's just do this as the game intends and let it take time. Anything I need to... Check Dark Arts. I don't like Flipendo by default. It's kind of dumb, but making it a curse is decent. Rest of Momentum is just very good. It's basically just stopping someone in place, which is just wonderful. Wonderful. Affects an enemy for a longer period. I'm gonna wait on that. What other spells have I gotten? Also. Big blast around me. Everyone get the hell away from me. That's actually really nice. Confringo, that's amazing. I love Confringo very much. Not Levioso. Nah, I'm gonna wait on that one. I don't really need that one. Alright, cool. Moving on. Alright. So... let's go do the map chamber thing. I think this is just in the castle, so it shouldn't take too long. Okay. Wait, is this in the map chamber, or am I supposed to go to Professor Fig's office? Fig it's the map chamber because it is directly below us, but I'm not actually sure of that. We'll find it. Find out. Hey, no, this is Professor Fig's office I'm going to. Alright then. Fine. Is that faux glass? I mean, I assume it isn't a faux glass because we would definitely have spooks in it.
I was hoping to see you.
You're back.
Finally. Minister Spavin talks more than he listens. Ranted on and on about rogue dragons. Wouldn't listen to a word about goblins. Speaking of which...
Listen, Professor. So much happened while you were away. I received a flurry of messages from Professor Black's house elf, Scrope.
Scrope sent you messages?
Yes. I thought it was odd too. He asked me to meet him and then told me to take the toast.
Why would you want to take toast?
To a cave under the lake. That's where I found Richard Jackdaw's ghost.
Who on earth is Richard Jackdaw?
He was a student here long ago. Anyway, he told me about a secret cavern. I went there, and right next to Jackdaw's skeleton, I found the missing pages.
You found the pages?
I did. And because
When you
Jackdaw
say it like
followed
that,
the
this story
path
sounds
he did,
insane.
When I found the pages, I found the location on the map. Believe it or not.
An elf showed up and told me to talk to give toast to a ghost.
Surprised. Shall we?
I was hoping you'd say that. Oh, and we'll need to bring the book.
Anyway, being awfully English, I'm having tea tonight. With the game being awfully English, I should say. I'm having tea tonight rather than coffee. Also, because I mentioned the whole I have class tomorrow morning, well, that modified schedule due to the Mass of the Holy Spirit.
Professor Rackham, I look forward to
is earlier
How did
than
this
usual.
jackdaw get the pages?
So I get class at 9 in the morning tomorrow.
Evidently,
So that'll be
Peeves stole
horrible.
them, and Jackdaw stole them from him.
Oh, Peeves.
Going to be absolutely terrible. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of 9 in the morning. For any reason, really. But it's all right. I'll live with it.
Safe travels, my young friend.
My usual class time. My class usually starts a half an hour later at 9:30, which is tolerable. Not great, but tolerable.
Think
So
it was beneath us all this time.
I have to wake up very early tomorrow. In other words, given we have shortened classes because of the modified schedule, I'm pretty much just going to be going over the syllabus, what we're doing this semester, talking a little bit about what makes ethics a field of inquiry, and why people should continue to pay attention in class. Basically, convince them this is the time. This is when I have to sell the class to them. Yes, I acknowledge that. Yeah, they've already technically bought it, with their tuition and all that. But at the same time, I need to sell them on the importance of it, so they'll actually take the class seriously. Ooh, very cool. Someone's got a bit of a goofy smile there, I gotta say.
A map. There's Hogsmeade. And over here, the Forbidden Forest. And, of course, Hogwarts. It's magnificent.
Cool. That's very cool. A little bit weird that Professor Fig's instinct, his first immediate instinct, is let's walk on it before it even resolves itself into anything. Like, what if after it resolved, it just, like, the surface disappeared, it just fell? He's an old man, that would hurt. Get pretty seriously injured from that. Like a 4 or 5 foot fall? Perhaps onto a scale model of Hogwarts? That would suck.
Hello, Professor Rackham. We've placed the book on the pedestal as you asked. And this is my mentor, Professor Fig.
How do you do?
Also, we made curry and
Professor
naan
Fig?
tonight, so I still have some
And
naan
you, my young
in hand.
friend, see now why you needed to return with the book?
I do.
Very good.
I also see why you refer to this room as the map chamber.
That you have come this far tells me that you possess extraordinary magical ability, the potential and power of which will unlock should you prove yourself worthy. The location of each of 4 trials will, in time, appear on the map. Trials that will test you and give you access to invaluable knowledge. Trials that you must complete on your own. Do you recall the pensive memory you viewed in my vault in Gringotts?
You and your friend Charles spoke of the port key, and of trials you'd created for one who could see traces of ancient magic.
Precisely. Charles is another of the keepers, a designation we gave ourselves centuries ago, in light of the knowledge that we have been bound to keep hidden. Until, perhaps, now.
So, the passage from your ruins to Gringotts, everything in the vault, the restricted section, finding this room, none of these was a trial.
They were an important part of the journey, but
No, it
they were
doesn't
not
count.
trials themselves. The fact that you have come this far, however, bodes well. The trials were designed to ensure that the power and knowledge we have kept secret for so long does not fall into the wrong hands. They will test your abilities, both innate and learned. But of equal importance, everything you witness as you complete the trials will inform what you choose to do with all that we share. You will need patience. The trials have much to teach you. It will take time.
I'm afraid we don't have the luxury of time.
We have waited this long, Professor Fig. Surely a few more.
Respectfully, sir, while I do not know the secret you keep, I do know that our young friend here has seen traces of a powerful dark magic being wielded by goblin kind. And we encountered an uncommonly powerful goblin wielding such magic as we prepared to leave your vault at Gringotts. We may already be too late.
This is grave news indeed. Young friend, do you trust Professor Fig?
I do.
Then, in the light of your considerable
Like,
skill
there's no
and
choice
all
there.
you have already accomplished, we shall begin. You will find the location of the first trial marked on the map below you. Whilst Professor Fig may assist you in locating the trials, they may be completed only by one with our ability.
Shall we have a look?
I'm interested, given that this is a prequel, it's a pretty extreme
I
prequel.
know
I'm
that
wondering how
tower.
this
It's
relates
not
to
far.
anything that we see in the
You
Harry
may
Potter
have
series.
seen it yourself.
Not in this playthrough. No, Soren hasn't seen it.
I don't think I have. Perhaps your young friend is not as well traveled as you think.
As your mentor, the least I can do is go ahead to make sure it is safe. Join me as soon as you can.
You said that you know that tower. What can you tell me about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. I've passed it dozens of times. It's north of Hogsmeade. My recollection is that it seems abandoned. Clearly, however, the tower conceals more than meets the eye.
Okay, cool.
I'll find you at the tower as soon as I can.
Until then, be careful. And do not tell anyone where you're going.
All right. Huh. In that case, let's go up. Talent point, nice. Before we meet him at the tower, let's go back to the room of requirement. Yeah, let's do a big old walk. It'll take time for those plants to grow. Actually, I'm curious. I'm gonna go check because I know it's been more than 7 minutes. The question is whether time in cutscenes counts towards the grow timer or not. Jeff says, "Hey Jeff, how you doing? The only relation to Harry Potter is they're the same last names. There's a Weasley. Yeah, there's Professor Weasley. There's.
But first,
That's
I
really
will
good.
need you to complete a few tasks. Once you've done that, come and see me.
Oh, okay. Gawa has some tasks now. Okay. Thunderbrew and a Mandrake. Excellent.
Nick thinks you should be proud of all.
Thanks. I mean, to be fair, there's obviously the connection of things like balloons over Hogsmeade Station and Quidditch Switch. Oh, okay, I can do that. Let's do that first. Yeah. There's obviously like the layout of the castle and whatnot, which is actually really well put together. It's really well done. Don't you say that? Don't you say that, Jeff? Jeff says, "Tell the viewers how much you love or like." I can't actually see it. It's blocked with a little emoji. Like, okay, like rings of power. You know what? Didn't care for it. Did not much care for it. Also, I didn't see it. Also, I won't. I'm not subjecting myself to that. There's no way. You cannot. Like, it would be difficult for you to pay me enough to watch that. I'm not doing that. Same with Kenobi. That's another one of those that is just one of those horrible abominations that is torturous to my sensibilities in general, and in particular torturous to the things that I love. I love the character of Obi-Wan. I love the character of Qui-Gon. I love the character of Luke, for that matter. Okay, I can't get my broom out here. Fine. And I love Tolkien's Legendarium, and especially I love the Silmarillion. Now, to be fair, I think that the first age is far more interesting than the second. But still, I would honestly say that the second age, out of the three that we know a lot about, or four if you can count the age before the sun. Oh, I know where it's going. I heard that key.
It's a relief
I know where it's going. Do I need to follow it, or do I need to just meet it? Damn.
Revelio.
Damn. Anyway, the second age, like I was saying, is probably my least favorite of the three. Of the three, we know a great deal about. Plus, I guess the age before, the age of the trees. And so also I will say, sort of following up on that. Okay, here we go. That the first age is definitely my favorite of the, I guess, call it four that we know a lot about. But because of that, I mean, that isn't to say that I don't care. Too soon. That isn't to say I don't care about what happens in the second age, because a lot of it's very important. A lot of it follows up on.
Yes.
There we go. A lot of it follows up very closely on what happens in the first age, and then a lot of that really builds on, I mean, obviously, really builds up to what happens in the third age. And so it's not like you can write the story of the second age, screw it up horribly, and expect it to not be awful and not be irritating to no end. It's going to be irritating to no end, and it irritates me to no end. Despise it. Absolutely despise it. Oh gosh, Jeff, I'm so sorry. He says, I watched every episode with my father in the same sense as the characters from Mystery Science Theater 3000 watch sci-fi movies. That's the only way to do it. If you're gonna do it, you have to make fun of it while you're watching it. Otherwise, otherwise, I'm sure I could not manage a way to tolerate it, if not to make fun of it the whole time, a live watch. But I mean, even then, I find that I'm fairly certain I would get far more angry than I would sort of comically, like, so bad it's good kind of thing. Because what makes MSK3K so good and so entertaining is that most of what they watch aren't so bad they're bad, they're so bad they're good kind of movies, you know? They're the entertaining kind of bad movies. Rings of Power isn't that. Rings of Power is just bad. And honestly, like I said, I'll say the same thing about Kenobi. Another thing that I did not watch, will not watch, you cannot get me to watch, for most of the same reasons. Because I'll say I've been a huge fan of both Star Wars and Lord of the Rings since I was a kid. And to see both of them being horrifically bastardized at roughly the same time is it's great. Great. I'm gonna do this Merlin trial while I'm here.
I know a Merlin trial when I see one.
I need to start growing Malisoe too. I could see, but yeah, I could see that working. I could see a decently fun time watching it to laugh at it.
These Merlin trials won't get the best
Yeah.
of me.
But I still don't want to do it. Now, I'll say on a related note, right? I mentioned that I have not and will not watch. I have not watched and will not watch Kenobi. However, I am watching, have been watching Ahsoka so far.
Assignment's all finished. Potato! Yes! 8 legs is simply too many.
I tend to agree. What's going on over here, anyway? By the way, I really like the Thunderbird potion. It's actually quite good for combat, but I almost never brew them. So anyway, I finished both of those. That's very handy. Let me go do the. That's our Kagawa's challenge. That's for Glacius, if I recall, right? I didn't look. Trying to remember. I think it's Glacius, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's also good for exploration because it lets you put out fires. There's a weird thing for it to do. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. It's the cold spell with that fire, but oh, come on, come on! Oh, jeez. Where's the other ones? Aha. Run into the chimney a little bit. It's fine. What did I miss? Ah, there it is. Okay. But yeah, so Ahsoka has been I hate to say this because it's zoomery, but mid. Honestly, that is like the best way I have to describe Ahsoka. There's been some good stuff, but there's been nothing that's been particularly great about it. And there's been a lot that's been kind of... There have been problems, let's say. There have been a couple of moments that did give me a genuine smile. Now, a lot of that's member berries and stuff like that. Fine. But still, it was still things that I did genuinely enjoy. Even if it was for somewhat superficial reasons. Oh, upgrades. Wait, I can't change the appearance of my... Oh, I can't change the appearance of my broom because I'm riding it. That actually makes a lot of sense. Alright, let's go do these lesson thingies. Huh? Okay. Yeah, Ahsoka has been okay. So, let me put it this way. I like the Night Painter better. You Weaver. It's nice, but I like the Night Dancer. With the strap and the seat. Classy. Classy. Anyway. So yeah, it's been okay. So, let me put it this way. If I were to give like a 1 through 10 rating, I want to contextualize it first with all the various other Star Wars stuff. So if I were to rate the various Star Wars projects as sort of collections of things, I would put the original trilogy at like a 9 out of 10. It's excellent. It's very good. Very well put together. There are a couple of issues that prevent it from being a perfect 10. But 9 out of 10. Excellent. Dear Madam Kagawa. And complaints from Imelda wanting to play Quidditch. Yeah, naturally. Sorry. But yeah, it's a 9 out of 10. It's very good. There were a few flaws. There were a few problems that could reasonably be addressed. But overall, I think it was absolutely excellent. No real complaints. No serious complaints. The prequel trilogy, I'd say, is probably about a 7 out of 10. It's still good. It's still well above average as far as movies goes, as far as stories goes. It is still really good, especially taken as a whole, as a series, if you want. It's really well put together, structured. The specifics, the nitty gritty, is where the problems start to arise, right? So, you know, it's still very good. It's still 7 out of 10, like I said. And I'm, by the way, again, grading on the full 0 through 10 scale, with a 0 being is completely incoherent and does not hold together, 10 being perfect, and I cannot there are no criticisms I have for it. So there we go. There's my scale. So yeah, the prequel trilogy, probably about a 7. It is genuinely quite good. That's controversial still for some reason, but whatever. It's quite good. The sequel trilogy. 2 overall. I wouldn't quite go so far as to say it's a 1. Because it's not complete utter nonsense. Star Wars hasn't gotten to that level yet of complete utter nonsense. But I would say it's probably about a 2. It's very bad. There are very few redeeming qualities in the sequel trilogy. It's not good. Not good. 2. I would say... Let's see. What do we have next? Rogue One. 6. Still above average. Still pretty solid. But it doesn't quite do as much it's not as ambitious and as far as like hitting the marks that it's shooting for as the prequels are even. So I'd say that Rogue One is probably around a 6. Still good, but not as good. Solo, I can hardly even remember, but it wasn't offensively bad. It was a few times, but below average, so probably around a 4. Not good, but not horrifying. The Mandalorian varies wildly from season to season because it's gotten worse and worse as it went on. Season 1, it's probably another 6. Season 2, down to a 4. Season 3, I haven't seen. But from what I know of the plot, down to sequel territory, like 2 or 3. Down to 2 or 3. It might be a little bit better than the sequels, but not by much. Book of Boba Fett, again, down to 2. At best, 2 at best. There's wildly nonsensical inconsistencies throughout the show. So 2 at best. Including some assassinations of beloved characters like Luke Skywalker. And Boba Fett, for that matter. Obi-Wan 1. Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Again, haven't seen it, but from everything I know about the plot and everything I know about basically everything to it, 1. Not a 0. It still holds itself together as a story, but it is mostly incoherent nonsense that makes no sense of the characters or their choices or their actions. 1. Andor, Miracle of Miracles, I'd have to say is something like an 8 or a 9. It is on par with the original trilogy. I've watched it again recently. There are elements of it that are... There are some contrivances throughout that I think don't need to be there, and I think that there are things that could be done a little better. But overall, yeah. And the distinct lack of aliens is kind of disappointing in Andor. But 8 or a 9, very good. I would put Ahsoka so far at like a 4, like season 1 of Mandalorian. Oh no, sorry, season 2 of Mandalorian, give or take. It's better than what we've been getting for the most part, but like not overall good. I'd say like a 4, maybe a 5, maybe a 5. The first 2 episodes I'd put at a 4. The third episode that I did actually just watch is a little below that, especially because I don't. The idea that Ahsoka would decide that she's going to train a non-Force sensitive to be a Jedi and hope that things just work out is silly, but maybe the kind of thing that Ahsoka would do. The problem is that I kind of anticipate it culminating in one of those, yes, if you do try hard enough, then you can in fact move things with your mind, even if you're not what would be traditionally called Force sensitive. So that's going to be annoying when Sabine is actually like a Force user. But yeah, the flat character writing has been the biggest problem, I think, because again, going from cartoon to live action has this problem where cartoon characters are by nature more expressive, as you can get away with it more in cartoons. So going to live action is always going to feel less real, as bizarre as that is. And I think that I'm not saying it was a bad idea, because I mean, sure, you can bring characters from animation to live action and back and forth, but the differences are going to be quite significant, and sometimes the differences are for the worse. These are characters who are written for animation with that wackiness, that emotional fever pitch in mind, and it can't be there in live action, so it's not. I mean, it could be, but it would come off as kitschy. So, I mean, it's probably for the best that they didn't, as far as the individual production goes. But the other thing is that they are trying so hard. This I talked about last week. They're trying so hard to split this weird difference between Star Wars being for a niche market and for a mass media, for a mass appeal. Star Wars can't be for a mass appeal, just because there's so much going on. Back in the 90s, and even in the early 2000s, in the EU days, the heyday of the EU, they could focus on these tiny little stories because they knew that the people who were dedicated to it were dedicated to it. But the number of people who were actually dedicated to it was in like the low thousands, not in the millions that they would need it to be. Like the total audience for Ahsoka over the first week of the 2 premiere episodes was 1.2 million views. That's not great. But at the same time, that's more than probably almost any EU book has sold, especially not in the first week. So fine, I guess it's a mass market appeal. But the problem with appealing to a mass market like that, and it needs to appeal to a mass market like that or much bigger, is that you need it to be accessible and something that is embedded within a rich, constantly growing and developing universe like this. It can't be accessible in that manner, and so you can't do both. Doing both is nice. It's great. If you could do both, you could make probably the best story ever told. The problem is you can't do that, and it's just Disney wants their cake and wants to eat it too. Is the problem.
Madam Kagawa, I completed the list of tasks you assigned.
Wonderful. I trust you became more familiar with your broom through the process?
Yep.
Yes, Professor.
That's good to hear. Keep it up, and perhaps one day you'll have a spot on the Quidditch team. If Black ever permits Quidditch again. Well, with those tasks out of the way, let us get started. Glacius.
It's odd that she's the
Pay
one
attention
teaching me
to your
Glacius.
wand work.
I don't know why she's the one teaching me Glacius, but okay.
Well done. I'd recommend that
Actually, you know what I'm going to
your
do?
new spell here in my...
I'm going to go ahead and just unlock a third spell knowledge, a new set. Because I now have enough spells to make that worthwhile. Wait. Not collections. Talents again. Hold on, talents. What about Glacius? What does it upgrade to? Damaging shards? That's actually kind of cool. It can't become a curse, so I'm not going to be speccing into it in particular. There's no freezing curse. It's nice, but nah.
Before taking it out into the world.
Okay. I'm going to switch this back to Incendio. Okay. And to Pulso. And let's make this be Glacius, Ringo, Spelliarmus, and let's go to Pulso. I'm going to eventually flip that to Flipendo, which is what I'm about to get. No, it's not what I'm about to get, is it? I'm about to get Defindo. It's weird that you get all the damage spells first, more or less. And Reparo. I guess I'll put Defindo on there when I get around to it. I'll flip it, or I'll mess around with it a little bit. But this is fine.
Glacis!
There you go. Getting them quickly.
All right. Sweet.
Glacis!
I think it's learned its lesson.
Plunk.
But do continue to practice as long as you like. Kinesthesia is a powerful learning tool.
Cool, thanks. All right, onward. There's Care of Magical Creatures, which we'll do soonish. I don't know when, but soonish. I think come wintertime, if I remember right. That's actually another thing about this game that I absolutely love. Herbology class, okay. And then Professor Sharp. So yeah, Wingardium Leviosa is not one that you actually have to put on your thing, because you just Accio, and it'll automatically cast it. Anyway, though. Oh, I am supposed to go through the door. Okay. Anyway, so I really like the seasons changing in this game. It's so cool. Just the differences in the environment are really just... It's mostly aesthetic. There are a few gameplay differences. A few like environmental gameplay differences, but mostly it is just the glorious aesthetics. Yeah, thanks. I wasn't doing so well on that.
Arresto Momentum, the slowing charm. It allows
Such a good
you
one.
to freeze objects or people in midair. Simply complete a few tasks and then come and see me.
I want that one. I really want that one. That's a good one.
I've completed my assignments, Professor.
Pleased to hear it. Professor Weasley will be too. I'll be sure to let her know how well you're coming along.
And I say regret tea, by the way.
Professor.
Professor Hecat tells me she taught you Levioso, so you should be ready for a more advanced levitation charm. Wingardium Leviosa requires a bit of concentration and a nice, graceful wand movement. Let's see you try your hand at it. When executed correctly, you should be able to pick up boulders as though they were sprigs of sneezewort.
They were what? Swish and flick.
Accio!
Well done!
Professor Garlic.
Oh wait,
A
I didn't
moment
mean to
of
do that.
time?
Okay.
Plants are resting, so now's as good a time as any.
Apologies, Professor. Perhaps later.
Not to worry. I'll be here if you'd like to talk.
Wingardium
You're a
Leviosa.
natural.
Spin. Now I want to do this with like an animal. That's not nice, but I really want to. There we go. Nice. Moving on. Five didn't he leaves? All right. All right. Precise flying near the spires and Keen Bridge Tower. All right, let's do this. Yeah. Oh yeah. She's. Yeah. No thanks. She is. She's definitely very young. Yeah. There's actually a couple of points about that. Like other characters talking about her. She just graduated. From Hogwarts like a few years ago. She's probably under 25. Oh, whoops. Oh, right, down there. Potions Class is down in the dungeons. Okay. What? Key.
Revelio.
Ah, there you are. Come on. Whoop, wrong way. monies. I'm getting better at that. You do not want to know how long the one I did off stream took, because it was an embarrassing amount of time. It was probably a full 10-15 minutes that I spent just trying to slap the damn thing.
Have you finished your assignments?
Yes, sir. So.
I finished the tasks, Professor.
Well, well. I trust you are meticulous in your efforts. After all, shortcuts only ever lead to shortcomings.
Yes, sir, of course.
Good. Ordinarily, I'd say it's not my concern either way, but you... I want to make sure you're well prepared.
He's onto us.
Talent and resolve are
He's
a
onto us.
potent combination. It would be a... Don't let it go to your head. Now, let's see how you fare with Diffindo. Wand at the ready. Focus. Diffindo can be dangerous if you're not paying attention. The art of potion making is delicate, and as such requires great precision. Very good.
Put it here. Yeah, that'll work.
Anyone else?
Diffindo!
It's a pleasure to have a student who actually heeds instruction.
Accio! Levioso! Diffindo!
As I mentioned earlier, Diffindo can be versatile but dangerous. Good to see you continuing to practice.
Mm-hmm. I have been, so I've done a little bit of this game off stream. I haven't had much of a chance this past week. Mostly just because I've been preparing for class and a hurricane all at once. Preparing for class because I thought it was going to start Tuesday, as I've mentioned, but it turns out Tuesday was canceled, and so we're starting tomorrow. But yada yada yada, you know how it goes. But then also, we had to bring everything in the backyard, and our backyard is full of stuff for the kids. We got toys, we got play sets, we got like a playhouse kind of thing, a whole bunch of stuff. We had to take around the house, through the gate or over the fence, into the garage, before what turned out to be a little fart of a storm came. Now, that's not fair. It was not a little fart of a storm. It was actually quite the storm. It just, as usual, thankfully, more or less passed us by. We got some outer bands. So yeah, no thanks. The roof is not any further damaged than it was, but I mentioned this earlier. It turns out that it was damaged far worse than we thought. We have a lot of loose shingles all around it, not just where some blew off from Hurricane Ian. Ian actually did quite a lot more damage than we thought. So as it turns out, we're probably gonna have to get a new roof. So that's gonna suck. That's gonna be pretty costly, and hopefully, because of that change, because of that more extensive damage, we're talking to a public adjuster about it. Hopefully, we can get more. We can get our insurance to pay for more of it. Hopefully, enough of it. Put it that way. Maybe even all of it. I'm a little bit hopeful. Not sure about any of that. I'm not banking on insurance being able to pay, or being willing to pay for all of it. Just because you know how insurance goes. They'll do everything they possibly can not to pay for all of it. What is the thing way over there? Is it that much further? Anyway, let's do this first, shall we? So yeah, we are gonna have to get a new roof, and that's kind of rough. like I said, cost-wise, we're yet to see how it's going to turn out. But there is a good chance that it is still going to cost at least a couple $1,000s. It might wind up being more. Hoping not, but you never know. So we'll see. Oh yeah, yeah. I know metal roofs are cheaper, but they're not nearly as energy efficient, just because they don't one, they don't radiate heat as well, and they're also, from what I know, they're more susceptible to damage. Ooh, this is testy. Hooray! Oh, God. 1,000 yards away. Great. Let's go. Dude, this is why I turned the infinite broom boost on. Yeah, I do think that metal roofs are cheaper, but again, and I know they also don't hold up well, nearly as well in hurricane conditions. So, because they'll do things like bend, like they'll buckle and bend and things, whereas tile roofs are more repairable, as I understand it. And we just got, again, unlucky, and presumably our when our house was built, and with it the roof, it had some pretty shoddy craftsmanship, and so it was I've already discovered this place, Keenbridge, and so because of that, a lot of the tiles peeled up a bit, and again, not extensively. It's not like we lost tiles all over the roof, but we watched the guy coming out to do the inspection, and it was a good portion of the roof has.
How would you like to learn
Jeez.
the knockback
Stop!
tricks
Stop!
from Pendo? Once you've completed the necessary task, come and find me in the greenhouse.
Oh God. Okay, hold on. Ooh. Okay, the owl, the howler just kind of overloaded my game, or overloaded the stream, I guess. Was not ready for that. Now, I'll tell you though, we used to have when I was growing up, my house when I was a kid, we had
That's it.
a tile roof, but not like the black tiles. Right? We actually had the white like ceramic tile roof, which really was something. It was very cool. It's a wonderful, glorious look to it. It's a really nice look to it. But again, they're not great in storms, which is why we wind up replacing it. We did wind up replacing the thing, so and it was mostly due to some storm damage, and it turned out to be pretty unsafe. We had our like big ceramic tiles flying around the neighborhood. Oh, jeez.
Expulso! Trying to make quite conductive, aren't we? Defender. Expulso! Stop standing at once.
These are axe winders, so they're basically gangbangers. They're basically like wizard gangbangers. I turned that one into a chicken.
That's just the beginning.
Ooh.
Your life before you even realize it's gone.
Ooh.
Expulso!
Protego! You stupid one!
You'll regret this for the rest
Oh,
of
there's
your
more of them.
short
There's a lot of them.
life.
Huh?
You won't escape again.
I shall kill you for this when I get down from here! Incendio!
Ow!
I'll watch the light go out of your eyes.
Incendio!
Incendio!
Ah!
Expulso!
Stupefy!
Expulso!
Slippery as a kelpie, then.
Incendio!
Potatoes! That's proper feeble, that is.
You took Laura Treadwell from us.
Incendio!
Protego!
Levioso! Accio! Incendio!
Potatoes! What have you done? Learn that in production!
Accio! Incendio!
Reducto!
Defendo!
Reducto!
Protego!
Accio! Incendio!
Whew. Is that all of them? That's not all of them. There's more. But they're not all coming. I guess they didn't hear that. Or see it. Or anything like that, I guess. Oh well. That's fine. Yeah, let's handle the rest of them, huh?
Accio! Incendio!
Yeah, I mean... yeah, they would be more creative if they had magic. I mean, they're using a good assortment of spells, to be fair.
Accio!
Um,
Incendio!
they're not just doing, you know, blasts and nothing else.
Shame nobody saw that.
Yeah, imagine going to the Crips corner on 55th and pulling up and taking out 10 gangbangers at age 15. Would they be stronger if they just had guns? I mean, probably, although...
Levioso!
not bad.
Protego!
There is always Protego. Which, it's implied, will stop things like projectiles, presumably including, you know, guns. Also,
Goodness.
this was
Party to attend by myself.
relatively early.
Accio! Incendio!
So this is like, again, late 19th century.
Try not to make this
Chicken. Being the late 19th century, firearms technology, like Muggle firearms technology, is substantially less than what it is today. There were things like Gatling guns, Maxim guns, that sort of thing. So, oh geez, really? So there was, you know, rapid fire weapons, but most individuals would have had at most hammer action or lever action weapons. And so it's interesting. This is something that I think this game really missed out on, is the interaction with Muggles. It's interesting to see how Wizard and Muggle relationships, but then also Wizard and Muggle sort of comparative societies is different than how it is in the 1990s when Harry Potter takes place. It would have been a really interesting thing to explore, but this game really doesn't get into it, which is a little disappointing. That's one of the reasons to do a period piece, is to explore the differences between then and now, and they don't really get too much into the differences between then and now, especially in the Muggle world, because the differences in the magical world are really minor, just because, or at least mostly because, the wizarding world has this whole technological stasis thing. They kind of get stuck.
Accio!
Come here. Okay, well, It didn't auto-cast Wingardium Leviosa on the cow. That's disappointing. Never mind.
This looks like trouble.
It's down there, and how do I get there? There's something down there that I'm supposed to get to. It's got to be stairs or something that go down somewhere, or ladder or something. Maybe not.
Revelio.
Oh, hey, who's that? It's not it. Oh, I guess it's just the bandit camp here. Yeah. Yeah, bolt action. Revolvers. So I guess bolt actions, revolvers, lever actions. I mean, you could get a reasonable rate of fire. Because again, I like to think that this takes place roughly the same time as Red Dead Redemption 2, maybe a little before. And so that is roughly the level of Muggle technology that we're talking about. And so, yeah, I mean, if wizards are susceptible to bullets, and Protego doesn't work against bullets, yeah, bullets are really good. Bullets are a real problem. Right? Guns are a real problem for wizards in a direct conflict. And that's actually that's always an interesting factor to consider in Harry Potter, in the whole franchise, in the wizarding world, I guess you call it, is that there's this strange point, there's this strange problem that wizards would be able to do things far more efficiently and effectively just using Muggle technology. And I mean, especially the go-to thing is oh yeah, so right before Red Dead, right? Great minds think alike and all that, right? But yeah, it's this is cool. It's not much of a puzzle, Merlin. Just blow things up with your wand.
That's that. Settled.
But yeah, it's it's always interesting to consider like how in the time of Harry Potter, like in the 90s, in the 1990s when Harry Potter takes place. That's early to mid 90s. They're using owls for primary communication. That's in a time when Muggles were easily and regularly using telephones, were developing the internet, and were very close to cell phones, and even to like what we have now, modern smartphones. Like there is no contest with magic to a modern smartphone. Like there's nothing that wizards would use that is the equivalent of a Muggle smartphone in current year. So there is a point at which technology surpasses magic. And it's interesting, and I especially like that Harry Potter, that in the 1990s, takes place at a time when those things are very close and they are surpassing each other back and forth. There are some things. Oh well, okay. Why bother with damage spells when you could have a gun? Well, what I just did there, I just cleared a rock fall with a damage spell. You couldn't do that with a gun. You'd need explosives. So I mean, it's not like everything. Even today, it's not like Muggles would do everything better and more easily than wizards, but the balance is shifting. And I would say that by the current year, maybe even by the 90s when Harry Potter took place, that the balance had probably shifted towards Muggles being more sophisticated, more effective. Um, I guess one of the close ones where there are serious benefits on either side would be transportation. Like, Muggles cannot and probably will never be able to do this. However, unless they're going to do things like pull an Arthur Weasley and enchant Muggle artifacts, like a car, they're not going to travel in speed and comfort like Muggles will, nor with with a similar amount of cargo. And cargo is a big thing because if you can travel by portkey, or you can apparate in a matter of moments over any distance, Muggles have a hard time, will indefinitely have a hard time matching that. Till we get technological teleportation, which, if that even happens, we're going to have a hard time matching wizards' speed of transportation. However, what we do have is bulk transportation. There is no wizard equivalent to a semi-truck, in other words. There's not even really the equivalent of a car trunk. So,
Welcome back.
again,
Have you
unless you think of
finished
like
your
things like the
assignments?
equivalents of bags of holding, shrinking cargo, I guess, or like the like Hermione's bag that's bigger in the inside, that sort of thing. Those things, which it is around at this time period, so that's been around a while. So you can pack things in smaller, wear a bag and fly on a broom, or wear a bag and apparate. Fair enough, I suppose. Um, but as far as like shipping goes, like large quantity shipping, that's harder. That's much harder to do. Like actual substantial cargo. Yeah, you can shrink it, but you can only shrink it so much, and you can only shrink so much of it. To the point where it would make Muggle shipping techniques significantly more efficient. But the problem is that wizards and Muggles don't interact with each other. And honestly, that's a huge
Reporting
problem.
back, Professor.
Like, economically, it's a
Assignment's
huge
all
problem.
finished.
Well done. Shows good discipline.
It's a great
Wisdom is
article
a
about that.
golden snitch, as they say, and you're proving a skilled seeker in that regard. Let us practice our restore momentum. A charm, incidentally, created to stop quaffles from plummeting straight to the ground during a Quidditch match. Precise, deliberate movements.
Hold on. There was an article quite some time ago on, I forget if it was the Foundation for Economics and Education or Mises Institute or one of those sort of Austrian economic think tanks, sites, places. It might have been from Jeffrey Tucker, now that I think about it. I don't remember offhand, but it was about how the statute of magical secrecy impoverishes everyone involved, and it absolutely should not be enacted, especially today in the modern world. That wizards would benefit tremendously from Muggle technology, and Muggles would benefit tremendously from wizard magic, and they could potentially be able to combine the things in new and fascinating ways. Things like what Arthur Weasley does with the car. Although there is in universe there is this issue where technological goods, yeah,
Very good.
technological goods which like Muggle technology, which gets enchanted, which takes on magic, can sometimes get some really weird quirks, right? So, maybe it's not such a great idea to enchant a car, because then it'll become semi-sentient, and that's not maybe not great. So there. I'm actually just going to put Arrest Momentum here because it's just really good. It's not that they're not allowed to use tech; it's that they have a weird cultural taboo against it, and that it doesn't mix well with magic. Like, they don't cooperate well with each other.
Much as possible. Perhaps before you leave.
Arresto momentum.
That's it.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah. Nice. They're not necessarily magic Amish to the extent where it's like an ethical prohibition or a religious prohibition or anything like that. But they are more or less stuck in somewhere in between the 17th and 19th centuries as far as technology goes. Because the more sophisticated Muggle technology gets, when magic interacts with it, it can get kind of weird and wonky. And yeah, presumably, the car can somehow suffer because the magic imbues it with a kind of mind, a kind of like animal level mind. So I think about the car in the Chamber of Secrets when it shows up in the Forbidden Forest and it fights off the spiders to help Ron and Harry. It wants to help Ron and Harry, but then it gets frustrated with them and it just literally throws them out of it and drives back off on its own into the forest. Not like that isn't something that was part of the spell. That was just something that it developed, in a sense, independently, because of how magic interfaced with technology. So there is that apparent problem, and that's presumably part of why wizards don't use Muggle technology. Part of it is also just a sort of cultural differentiation, if you want, right? Wizards see themselves as not just separate from, but in a lot of cases, better than Muggles. And so, if you really are, I've been waiting for a top hat. No. Awful. I've been waiting for a top hat. A helmet. Let's not, though. Bobby's helmet, almost. Don't like it. Yeah, no, that's about right. I dig it. I dig it. Why is it? Yeah, weird. Oh, it's because I have collections to collect. Another broom with a basket on the back. Ooh, dragon cloak. This is a good look. I like this one. The dragon hide set. So maybe sort of wear that later on. Anyway, though, yeah, like I said, it's you could maybe, I don't know if you could make the cargo have no mass. I don't know if you could get away with doing that with magic. Probably. I'm sure you can come up with a spell for it. Grow and harvest fluxweed, or all three combat plants and use them simultaneously. Ooh. Very cool. All right, let's do it. Oh, not the world map. No, we do want to go back to Hogwarts. We want to go to the room requirement. Okay. Yeah. As far as I know, that doesn't violate any of the laws of magic. It's so. What are they? Food cannot be created. Although it's not exactly clear what the restrictions on that are. Is fluxweed? The mandrake. Pot. Need fluxweed. Alright, so I can just plant that back here. Empty it. Fluxweed. Okay, alright, I have all three. Good. Excellent. was the other thing? Use all 3 combat plants simultaneously? Oh, I already harvest Fluxweed. Okay, so I need to use them all simultaneously. I wonder if I can just use them in here. Yay, that counted.
Dig thinks you should be proud of all the potions you've brewed.
Hey, Greens. How you doing? How you doing, Greens family? Okay, cool. Oh, wait, I think I have a... I don't? Okay.
I don't have anything for this at the moment.
All right, then. It's a garlic, right? The greenhouses. Oh, the Athenium. That's right. That's the one in the restricted section. That's the one that leads to the map room. But no, let's go to the greenhouses. So a co-location spell. That's actually potentially interesting, and I've never seen it show up. Basically portals. I've never seen it show up in Harry Potter, but it shows up in lots of different magic systems. So and it would be spectacularly useful for so many things. So I would like to see that, really. Need these. I would definitely like to see that sort of thing. I love how these giant super danger plants are just kind of sitting here, and I can just kind of go up to them and pick them, and they're not going to do anything terrible to me. Playing DC Universe Online with your brother. Cool. I never got into that. I never really did get into that one.
Tentacular.
Kind of like this idea. This woman is insane. Levitated outside the gravity well and wait for the rotation of the Earth. I mean, I think most spells have a range limit, but although that's not the least bit clear. Man, time spells, dilate the speed of the Earth and the local object, things like that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creative ways of using magic to do something like replicating Muggle technology. There's no reason that you couldn't do something like smartphones, but with, I don't know, call them magic mirrors, but they're functionally identical or whatever, right? Yeah, why not? Why not? I'm sure that somebody could come up with that. Part of the problem, though, is that there is no cultural contact either between the Muggle world and the Wizarding world, and so they don't get ideas from each other, right? Except through mythology. And it's mythology on both ends. Like, if you asked a wizard in the 90s, in Harry Potter's time, what is a telephone? They would say they would not be quite sure. Muggles probably, they use it to talk to each other or something? It's like flu powder, I guess. I guess. Again, none of it's particularly clear. And so they don't have a good idea of each other's cultures, and so there's no way of sharing ideas and coming up with these novelties. Not nearly as well. Is it a good game? I tried it out. Gosh, was it back in high school? No, it wasn't yet in high school. I think it must have been in college. A long time ago. I barely tried it. But yeah, I really do. Okay, so another side thing. As far as like superheroes and comics goes, I've always been a fan of the DC comics in general, way more so than Marvel. Not to say I didn't love the MCU run while it was good, the Infinity Saga, if you want, or whatever you want to call it. But I've always really liked DC because its heroes are really heroic. And I'm not just talking about Superman. I'm even talking about Batman most of the time. Definitely talking about like Shazam, Captain Marvel. Both Green Lanterns. I guess all three. I never read too many of the Kyle, what's his name? But both of the major Green Lanterns, all of them, all the really members of the Justice League especially, are just like excellent heroes. So I really like DC, and so if I were to get into any comic book universe a lot, it'd probably be DC. Thanks. It's so bizarre that they don't share cultures. It's almost inhuman, impossible. Cultures live next to each other without sharing all the time, especially if especially if they have sort of cultural prejudices, which wizards have cultural prejudices against Muggles for two reasons. One, Muggles were always persecuting them in the past. That happened a lot. And then two, because they see themselves as better, but still a better minority, and so are being persecuted in some ways. So it's a kind of superiority. It's a weird superiority complex that they have that keeps them to sort of be distant, standoffish to Muggles. They should have access to every culture, absolutely. Yeah, they absolutely should, but they wind up not. And I've talked about this before too. It actually does make sense that multiculturalism, call it, would catch on much more quickly in the wizarding world than in the Muggle world. Like for us, outside of the United States, you didn't find multicultural societies until this century, and even in the United States, it wasn't that common. Even throughout most of the 20th century, but it does actually make sense for there to be a sort of flourishing international community of the wizarding world, because you can just teleport anywhere in the world. So, yeah, you can have an exchange student from Uganda. That makes perfect sense in this context. So that I actually don't see a problem with. Like having an exchange student from Wagadu, that's actually kind of cool. Even having a teacher from there is great. Having a teacher from India, also because this is 19th century Britain, of course, why wouldn't you? It's fantastic. It's great. I like that. I actually think that the multiculturalism of this game is really cool. Even if the some of the weird cultural assumptions are very 21st century, that they're all part of the same culture for some reason, and then also things like a lot of the taboos and mores are very much 2020s rather than 1890s.
I finished the activities you assigned me, Professor Garlick.
Wonderful! I hope you gained a greater appreciation for the flora in our lives. I am forever enraptured by it. Just yesterday, I spent hours pruning my self-fertilizing shrubs and flutterby bushes. Didn't realize how long I'd been at it until the sun began to set. Well, if there's one thing I love to see more than my plants thriving, it's one of my students doing the same. Now, ready to learn Flipendo? Chin up, keep a light grip, and it's all in the wrist. Let's see you give it a go. You will want to focus with this spell. Nothing as mortifying as knocking back a colleague when all you wanted to do was move a few pots.
It's all bouncy.
Wonderfully done. If you'd like to...
Okay, so let's see, what do I got here? Go Flipendo, Glacius, Spelliarmus, Confringo. Confringo's good. I love Confringo. We'll eventually switch that out for a Bombarda in this layout, at least. Oh, hold on. Let's keep our spells consistent, shall we? Across our layouts. Yeah, that'll do. Whoops. Whee!
Please.
Arresto momentum. Depulso.
Whee! Ah, lovely. Alright, cool. Let's go into our talent points. Let's go into Dark Arts. The Slowing Curse. And the knockback curse. I almost want to keep this, but I almost want to do that, but let's not. Defeating a cursed enemy restores some of your health. Oh, that's really good. I'm gonna get that. That's excellent. I had to get to level 22. That's amazing. All right, let's see. A long time before I get a Vada Kedavra, so. All right, what other quests do I have? I have the Dalian keys, but let's not do that. Let's go to Rackhamstrap. Ooh, that's quite a distance. Yeah, I just want to get out and fly. I'm gonna fly because there's other flue power things I can unlock on the way there. So, let's go. Michael's finally going to sleep, but doesn't want to. In case you hear anything in the background, that is
Revelio.
That explains what's going on. Flue powder, yeah. Well, I mean, flue powder, yeah, is it's treated as way more simple, easy, and convenient in this game than it is in the books. But you know, it's a fast travel mechanic. What are you gonna do? There's a spider den. Ooh. This is the dueling arena. Not that. This is the dueling arena. I need to break these. Can I get in here? Can I not? Why? Why can't I? What's going on?
Confringo.
Do I need to light all? What do I need to do here? Oh, I see.
Let's get this over. Arresto momentum. Expulso! You're gonna have to stop that. I don't have all day. Incendio!
Ah, I broke my shield.
Expelliarmus! Incendio! Arresto momentum. Expelliarmus! Confringo!
And now can I go in? Or did I still miss a pot? Now can I go in? No. Oh, up there. I see it. That's all of them. I saw it saved. Okay. Oh, no. Flue powder is that's the, so if you remember from the books, that's what they use to travel through fireplaces. Like flue. like the FLOO of a fireplace. And yes, a shield can be broken, but only by specific kinds of spells, apparently. Which is, again, a game mechanic more than anything else, I guess. Okay. Let's do this. Is it FLUE? I thought it was FLOO. You could be right. I don't speak British. All right, what we got? Oh, hello.
Had enough?
Petrificus Frontalis!
Protego! Her body is done wrong!
You left.
Petrificus Totalis!
Ooh, and I've got my fully upgraded dodge warp.
You will regret coming here. Won't get away with that. I won't rest until you're dead. Very well.
I'm gonna avenge your death.
Crucial. You only have Ranrock to blame.
It's pretty neat.
I see you.
I know you're
Are you even trying?
Come on, you afraid to fight back?
I got it wrong.
Shouldn't have done that. That was dumb.
Imperial. Protect him! What are your faults on?
Time for some.
Confringo.
Enjoy suffering, do you?
You can't stop us. Confringo.
You manipulated me. You'll answer for this.
Imperial. Right, not to be worried about you. Protego.
That's just the beginning.
What an unfortunate...
You're the one who released Treadwell, aren't you? That
Confringo. Rather unwise coming back this way. Let's get this over with. Crucial.
This is sad. It is.
Confringo.
I will.
How nice of you to stop by. Imperial. At your service.
You're going to regret that.
An utterly pitiful this man.
Confringo.
That was pitiful. No, that's embarrassing, isn't it?
Unforgivable. About to get off.
No one takes one of my own and lives to tell of it.
Confringo.
Potato!
Pity. Not quite. Imperial. What do you mean? Protego.
Fight for me! Reducto! Reducto!
I've been fighting since before you were born. Are you sure? Let's see what you make of my theory.
You're no puppet master!
Confringo. Oh, that was meant for me.
Ooh.
Crucial. Confringo.
So close.
Imperio. Ready for your word.
I won't go down as easy.
Confringo.
Yeah, canon knowledge is poor. I mean,
Wait till Sebastian hears about this.
can you be blamed all that fully?
Imperio.
Help me out here, troll.
Crucial. Confringo.
Oh, jeez.
Imperio. Confringo. Crucial. Potato. Stupefy. Imperio. Havana Gadabra. Confringo.
I kind of should have let off with Avada Kedavra, but whatever, I didn't.
Confringo. Confringo. One less foul hulking brute.
Okay.
You come to the wrong place, John.
Oh, potato!
You come to the wrong...
Nice try!
Imperio.
Oh, I really should have hit the troll.
Will you hold still?
Death from above.
You haven't got a prayer.
You look on it.
I still should hit the troll with that.
I shall end you.
You won't stop me.
Imperio.
Help me out here, troll.
Crucial.
Prepare to see. Now, this has become...
Expulsion. Confringo.
Human.
Expulsion.
You won't survive this, my young friend.
Confringo. Expulsion. Potato. Just stupid one. Look.
Barely felt anything at all.
Crucial. Flash of inspiration. Imperio.
Petrificus totem!
Conductive, aren't we? Stupid one.
Petrificus totem!
You are terribly unfair. Surely you I should have been dead.
Avada Kedavra.
Yes.
One less human to worry about. Potato. What is happening? Imperial.
Well. You won't get away with that.
Confringo. Ranrock has fooled you all. To your
16
demise.
rounds. Man, I did well on that. All right, cool. Very cool. That must be the new top hat. Honestly, that is not something I planned on doing on the stream with you guys, just because it was, I mean, pure combat gameplay and not exactly something that I
Accio. Incendio.
it's not exactly something that I can talk about too much while it's happening. So, oh well. There was a lot of just gameplay and watching me make faces with the camera, but yeah, you know, hopefully it was entertaining nonetheless. But it was fun. That was good. I was assuming that it meant that you're allowed to use the unforgivable curses in this context, but no, apparently it just means that you automatically get them. Wait, what? How did I miss this? It's too late now. Waypoint, West Forbidden Forest, then Pitapon Ford, and then over there. Let's go a little bit out of the way so I can unlock some of these fast travel points. No, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, like I said, I like to make these streams far more about what I'm talking about, and the gameplay is just a sort of a catalyst for that.
I've always said that travel broadens the mind.
But you know, there are times when you know, gameplay does wind up taking precedence, especially when it kind of has to. If I'm at a point where if I'm at a point in the game when I really do have to focus, I'm fine focusing and not chatting too much for the moment. What are these? Oh god, I overshot it. Landing platforms. We can get those balloons too. Yeah. Also, yeah. No thanks. Good point. One nice thing is that magic never misses. It doesn't seem to, although there is the possibility of dodging. It seems. Or it getting interrupted, like if there's something in the way. Right? If you're casting a spell at somebody and there's a physical obstacle in the way, then it's going to miss, so to speak. So yeah, that happens, but it seems that is rare comparatively. There we go. Upon forward.
How nice
Is this the town with the spider problem?
No need for sleeping draft for me.
One of these towns up here has a serious spider problem. It might have been this one. No, it's not, because it was obvious, if I recall. It was like painfully obvious. Like there's spider webs across half the town. So I guess it wasn't this one. Oh well, moving on. What's this? Oh, this is that tower. That's where I need to go to. All right. Yeah, I will say I don't tend to have much of a live audience. I have a little bit more on the rewatches, but overall, I do this mostly for me and for those that relatively small group of people who really enjoy coming in and discussing. All right, let me see. Let me go here. Check that. Oh, that's for landing platforms. Oh, Quidditch captain stuff. Even though there's no Quidditch this year, obviously. Because that bastard Regulus Black. Oh, sorry, Phineas. Regulus was 100 years later. Wrong Black. On a side note, something I just thought of. the word black triggered this in my head because there was a black racer on our porch this afternoon. A snake, but actually pretty decently large, maybe that big, maybe 4 feet long or so. Decent sized black racer. Storms like this. Yeah, wrong black. Yeah, black racer, not the headmaster. Anyway, yeah, they storms like this, big hurricanes, or even like days long where there's a lot of thunderstorms, they tend to drive the local wildlife into shelter, and a lot of times that is in or around your house. There was a gecko inside the house last night. There was a frog in earlier yesterday. There were tons of frogs and geckos and lizards and snakes and toads and various insects and arachnids all around our back porch where where we actually we got rid of most of the stuff. We moved it into the garage that we had back there. But we still have the shelf bolted to the wall. We still have some, bricks and paving stones and stuff that they can all play in. And my gosh, there are a lot of things like there's a lot of lizards. There's a lot of frogs. Man, there's a lot of those little green tree frogs, the smallish ones, all over the place. Yeah, we usually have a lot of wildlife in our backyard, but this is it's gotten intense after the storm. It's pleasant.
We're not alone. We are
Very pleasant.
Not. Ranrock's loyalists. Around a dozen I can see, but could be more.
Can't we apparate past them into the tower?
We could, but we've no idea what's in the tower. More importantly, however, I'd like to know why they're here. They've set up camp just ahead. I suggest we investigate a little before doing anything else. Let's go.
Well, this isn't ideal.
No, it isn't. This way. And I'd suggest we use the disillusionment charm here. No sense in announcing our arrival.
What I wouldn't give for a cup of mushroom tea.
So the only things that actually fight over the small space tend to be lizards and with each other. The brown animals that we have around here, they're technically invasive, but they are because they're from Cuba, I think.
Totalis. Well done.
They're technically invasive, but man, there's a lot of them around Florida. They tend to be quite territorial. Mostly, like I said, with each other. So if there's one particularly large one that has taken up residence on our back porch. We call him Big Boy, named by the kids. He's quite large. He's at least hand-sized, maybe a little bit more if you include his tail. With a big crest up his back. Really impressive creature. I can't believe that hit both of them. Really impressive specimen. He's been basically king of the back porch for the last couple of years. He chases off competition. He has a bunch of females that he lets stay around. The smaller males he just kind of keeps away from his territory. They'll get into mostly face-offs. They'll do that head bobbing push up thing, and then they use the dewlaps on the bottom of their necks to show off to each other, and then they show each other off. One of them scurries around, and that's about all. Oh yeah, stealth overpowered. Yeah. It doesn't even have that. Yeah. So that's usually a pretty gamified nerf where you become visible if you act or if you attack or whatever.
And why here?
But functionally in the game, it's the equivalent of just stealth rather than invisibility. I mean, think about it in Skyrim terms. Of course you're going to play the stealth archer. It's just the best. Anything to do with names?
Revelio.
But yeah, I love lizards. I love reptiles in general. I'm a big fan. For a couple of years... Oh geez, what's happening here? That's not great.
I will draw blood.
Why did I just reappear?
You explain the stench.
Hang on. I gotta let this buffer. I gotta let the stream buffer for a second. My encoding's a problem. Hold on. Please stand by. Please stand by. Please stand by. All right, I don't know if you can still see me well, but I'm going to continue talking. Yeah, Stealth Archer would be awesome in a game like this, especially because magic always hits. Oh, yeah, for sure. And like utility mage, if it were you, yeah, utility magic is really the thing. Like that's what makes wizardry in Harry Potter so cool, is just the convenience of spells to just do things, you know, and it's cool stuff like flight as well. But I'll say that if you mod Skyrim, because of course you're going to mod Skyrim, if you mod Skyrim so that you get sneak attacks, so you get sneak attack damage from spells, and so that spells don't reveal your location like they do, they make noise and stuff. A stealth mage build, so stealth, light armor, illusion magic, and destruction magic. Sometimes maybe conjuration magic if you can like summon creatures to fight for you while you go hide over there. That's a great build. I did a playthrough of Skyrim with that build. It was amazing, so good, a lot of fun. You need a couple of mods to do it right. Most notably, you need the ones that that make sneak attacks with spells work properly. But yeah, that's choice. If you're ever in the mood to play another round of Skyrim, do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun build. But yeah, I love reptiles. I trained alligators for a couple of years. It was really fun. It was at like a tourist attraction to Madeira Beach in Florida, where we had a bunch of live alligators, a bunch of mostly little ones, like 1 or 2 years old, so about yay big. There were a smaller handful of sort of adolescents, so about 4 or 5 feet long. We had one big guy. His name was Chompers. He was a little over 6 feet, big, old gator. Probably, I think he was like at the time 8 or 9 years old. And then we had a few little babies, like hatchlings, like hatched that past year. And so we trained them. Yeah, they're not domesticated exactly, but they were. What would be the term? I guess you'd maybe say domesticated, because they could respond to human interaction in a way, right? We trained them to respond to a lip smack noise because it's of a similar sort of vocal tenor to the sound that baby alligators make, so their ears can hear it very well. And we used that to draw their attention. And we trained it with them with food. So what we would do is we'd take them out one at a time. Each one got their turn for a day, for the tourism day, and people could hold them and take pictures with them, pet them. Again, one at a time. We didn't just let them just go in there and pet them. We wrapped their mouths closed with gauze, like medical gauze, because it's a little stretchier and it doesn't cut in like tape might. And we let people feed them. For pay a little extra. You can use these fishing poles that had a piece of turkey hot dogs, because they eat birds in the wild, so it's good for them. Little turkey hot dog chunks. You could feed them and get them to jump out of the water and snap at it. It was fun. It was enriching for the alligators. A lot of fun for me as a job, and it was a great experience for tourists to come in and interact with the critters. It's fun. It was a very fun job. I've actually done a lot of these. Whoop. I've done a lot of these weird fun jobs. I missed.
There you are. Rather unwise coming back this way. Much too slow. Let's get this over. Defender.
Ow.
You're so very weak.
Protego. Stupid. No!
First, yeah.
Many goblins have always been antagonistic towards wizard kind, but This is different somehow.
Man, an item phased through the floor. Now I can't loot it.
Let's head inside.
Disappointing. Oh well, it's fine. Not that big a deal. Professor Gator, man. Yeah. I usually wait until about at least a third of the way through the semester to share that particular fact about me.
They know that something is significant about this place, though.
I always love to have a surprise or two in store for students partway through the semester. Like, wait, you trained alligators? What? You really are from Florida? Or wait, you do video game live streams on YouTube? That's always a fun one.
Confringo.
There's always some students who are just like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're an adult. Stop it. In their heads, they don't say that out loud. They're terrified. As students tend to be of grown-ups. But also, there's always invariably some students who are actually interested in such things.
We encountered Ranrock's loyalists here.
So it's a neat little thing to. Let me put it this way: I've always liked fundamentally the.
It's locked.
Hey, nice. The field of academia. I've liked being an academic.
An unlocking charm.
Very handy. No time now.
Oh yeah, no, definitely just killing hundreds of people. No thanks. Yeah, slaughtering hundreds of people. Yeah, the fact that the whole the killing curse is treated like such a big deal when you are disintegrating people with lightning bolts, is really hilarious.
Someone was an avid reader.
Really hilarious.
Can't say I'm familiar with many of these titles.
I mean, the killing curse is only that bad. Is only thought of as that bad because it has only one purpose. It is there to kill and nothing else. And then two, because it's quick, it's painless, and it's immediate.
I wonder who this is.
With robes like that, it could be anyone.
Anything else? Yeah, no, people should not treat you with super respect. They should treat you with fear and trepidation. You're definitely, at this point, much like in most games, unfortunately, you're a dangerous sociopath with a history of violence.
Welcome to San Bakar's Tower.
Oh. Hey, Rackham. Also, on a related note, the fact that you can just fight off this many goblins, or fight off this many gangbangers, or whatever, woo, as a 15-year-old student, dude, uncharacteristically badass for a 15-year-old. Honestly, I'll say that is actually something that I really liked about the Harry Potter books, about the actual series, is that the kids, when they're students, are absolutely outmatched by actual adult wizards. At least most of them. So they really had to be creative and to think things through much more than just, get into a duel with a magical grown-up. It wasn't going to go well for them. And you see that, especially in the duel with at the end of Order of the Phoenix, the one where Sirius dies. Order of the Phoenix in the Department of Mysteries at the Ministry, when they get into these duels with these Death Eaters, and the kids are just like, we've been practicing literally all year for this, and I'm barely surviving, until the actual adults show up and start handling matters. Yeah, no, that is handled really well, but the problem is that doesn't make for it nearly as exciting gameplay as murdering dozens of guys. So. Anyway, before I talk to Rackham here, I will say, so, what I was just talking about. I've always seen myself in and been drawn to academia as a career, even sort of as an identity. I've always been an academic type. However, I've never liked the idea of being sort of locked away in the ivory tower, and that being the only thing I do. I've always liked having this sort of eclectic mix of backgrounds and ideas and experiences and even jobs. I like doing things that are out in the world, to touch grass, you know? Um, and so I try not to just barricade myself in academia and do nothing but think about philosophy all day. Because again, one of the biggest faults of any academic is always going to be over specialization, and it's really hard to avoid that. Because again, you need to specialize if you're going to really advance in academia, if you're going to get that that tenure track job and all that. But at the same time, I'm actually kind of glad to see, oddly, because a lot of people in sort of my school of thought, my more I guess right wing reactionary type people in academia, rare as they are kind of against this sort of thing. But I actually I'm a real proponent of what we would call interdisciplinary studies. Right? That's actually technically the department I'm teaching in at St. Leo, is the interdisciplinary studies department, and that's the department that handles the gen ed ethics class, which is what I happen to be teaching this semester. And I actually really like that approach, because I think that part of a liberal arts education, which again, as I've said before in a video that's I think still linked in the description, I think that a liberal arts education is for everybody. And over specialization is something that happens late in your academic career, not early, or not when you are getting a nice, well-rounded education. Right? Over specialization is for professional development. It is not for an education. It's not for learning. And so again, I think that really what we need to what we can benefit greatly from is learning from each other within academia. And I mean, we run into this problem a lot where, I mean, look over the past couple of years, right? Look at the COVID fiasco. You had, say, epidemiologists who were not talking to statisticians, who were not talking to economists. They were not talking even to doctors, really. And they most certainly weren't talking with philosophers and ethicists. And so they went into their silly little rabbit hole and they destroyed society. It is not about studying girls. That is that's what's the term? Not intercollegiate. Not intramural. I know what you're talking about. Good. I get it. Funny. I know what you're talking about. Interdisciplinary, though, is basically just different academic specializations talking to each other. That's all. That's all it means, right? And there's good ways of doing it, and there's bad ways of doing it. The bad way of doing it is to just, if I were to, me as a philosopher, try to write a paper in economics because I think that an economics topic is interesting. No, that's dumb. I don't know the methodologies. I should not do that because I don't have the relevant expertise. But what I can and should do is talk to economists, learn from them, take their insights into my own research, so I can do my own research, knowing what I learn from my colleagues. That's where interdisciplinary studies actually gets off the ground, I think. COVID stuff was deliberate and planned. It's evil, not an accident. Well, yes, of course. But again, it's what happens when you let someone with a very particular set of ideas, and a very particular agenda run away with practically unlimited power. When you don't have an array of people talking to each other and providing checks on each other, that's what can happen, because people can just get away with it. People can just go, and there's no one saying, hey, wait, stop. And I mean, in particular, Anthony Fauci, but then there was a whole cabal of sort of state-backed immunologists who this was their sort of little hobby horse, and they just ran away and destroyed society because they could. So yeah, absolutely evil. But again, I don't want to give the impression that kind of evil is, mustache twirling bad guy stuff. It's the kind of stuff that you or I can easily fall into. Think of the Milgram experiments type stuff. I've got a nice lecture on the Milgram experiments, because think back to COVID and how complicit you were in a lot of the heinous atrocities that we experienced. Hopefully not everything. Hopefully we provided some, maybe even a really strong degree of pushback, but not as much as we know we should have. There were a lot of instances where we were I mean, even I, as vocal of an opponent as the whole thing that I was all along, and you can check the record on that. You can go back through all of my live streams, because I started live streaming like a month into the pandemic. You can go through and look at all of them. I've been violently, in some cases, well, a lot of people would accuse me of being violently against the COVID policies from the beginning, but there were things that I still went along with to make things easier for myself, and even trying to make things easier for people I cared about, for my students in particular, because again, I saw what they were going through, and it was torturous. It was literally torturous, and I did everything I could to make it a little bit better. But in some cases, that wound up being, well, let's just go along with this part so we can get around these other parts, right? And by going along with this part so we can get around these other parts, a lot of what I wound up doing was sort of reinforcing some of the banality of the evil that was going on. Ooh, good question. So, No Thanks says, do you think that the system of the Antichrist is being set up right now? Yeah, of course. Has been since Christ left. Since Christ rose from the dead, the Antichrist has been hard at work. So I have a peculiar view of Revelations. My view on Revelations and the prophecies of Revelations are probably closest to Jimmy Akin's. So Jimmy Akin is if you're not familiar, he's a phenomenal and brilliant apologist, philosopher, and theologian with Catholic answers. He has an absolutely encyclopedic knowledge when it comes to history of the church, everything to do with anything tangentially related to Catholicism. Is an encyclopedic knowledge. It's incredible, and his view on Revelation is something like my own. Mine, which I don't know of a name for this, but what the closest name that I come up with is cyclical preterism. So preterism is the idea that the prophecies of Revelations were fulfilled already. Typically, that means they were fulfilled in the 1st and 2nd centuries, and they have to do with Rome, primarily. Okay. Partial preterism is the idea that the prophecies of the book of Revelations, that some of them have been fulfilled. Some of them, in other words, were about contemporary issues, and some of them were prophecies looking forward into the future, into the end times. I don't quite hold to partial preterism. I hold to a both-and position. Who's the guy that beats Michael Knowles every time? Dave Smith. Dave Smith. Excellent. He's a libertarian podcaster, commentator, was thinking very hard about running for president this coming cycle. Decided not to for family reasons, mostly, quite recently. There are some people who are quite mad about that, incidentally, but I digress. This sort of cyclical preterist idea is that the prophecies that we get in the book of Revelations are about patterns of history. They're not about particular events, right? So the Antichrist, or the beast of the sea, is not a particular person. So trying to say this person is the Antichrist that is prophesied in the book of Revelations, and for that matter, in the book of Daniel. And so this is the particular person that is going to bring about the apocalypse. No. Too simple. Rather, we should be saying that this person is an Antichrist, because they embody this spirit, the spirit of the Antichrist, that opposition to Christ in this fundamental way, such that they are driving society away from God and away from being itself. They're disintegrative of society in this particular way, foretold by prophecy, which is the kind of thing that happens throughout history. It's the kind of thing that happened before Christ and before the book of Revelation was written. It was the kind of thing that was happening while it was being written, say Emperor Nero. And it's the kind of thing that has happened many, many, many times all the way since, even to the present day. The Mark of the Beast is another perfect example of this. Yes, clearly, one of the things that it was talking about was Roman currency. Roman currency was the medium of exchange throughout the Mediterranean. You could not buy, sell, or trade without Roman currency. That means that Rome and Rome's governors and Rome's money changers and Rome's tax collectors could control commerce. They could control a lot of what you did, even in your little private sphere. That sounds really familiar. Because it's happening today. Because of course it's happening today. This is the kind of thing that happens constantly throughout history. It's cyclical, right? So it happens with the jab, for example, the vaccine passports, that sort of thing. Mark of the beast. Another thing in the news right now, which again, if you're not familiar with this, look into it and strongly oppose it. Central bank digital currencies. Vivek Ramaswamy is actually kind of obsessed with this topic, and I'm glad to see somebody is. I think Kennedy, RFK, Robert Kennedy, has also talked about it some. But central bank digital currencies works roughly the same way. It's a way of tracking dollar purchases, basically. All dollar purchases tied to a particular person, basically an implementation of something like a social credit score, which is another mark of the beast, not in our society per se, but in another contemporary society on Earth. Again, all of these things are the mark of the beast. They're a way for the secular powers that be to try to take control of the lives of believers in such a way that it makes them and their system into an idol. This happens throughout history. It has happened throughout history, and it will keep happening throughout history until Christ returns. And it will be throughout that a constant process and a constant active, deliberate process by the devil to pull us away from God. This whole, again, all of the prophecies that we find throughout Revelation are not about one particular event in history, because why would they be? That's wildly simplistic. Rather, they are about patterns of history that we should recognize as dangerous and as fundamentally in opposition to Christ and his church. Oh, false prophet beast from Revelation? So false prophet, again. Okay, so false prophet is basically a symbolic figure of a false religion, of heresy. Right, so all of the various heretics have been the false prophet, have been embodiments of the false prophet. So, I didn't want to start off with this, but Martin Luther, there you go, the false prophet. But not just Martin Luther. You can also go with Julian the Apostate, the Emperor of Rome, who apostatized the empire, or attempted to, from Christianity. Again, the false prophet. You can go with some of the anti-popes throughout the medieval period. The false prophet. They were leading the church astray by trying to lead it in a way that seemed to follow God, but really wound up pulling it away from that narrow path. As far as the beast goes, the beast is most typically associated with kingdoms and principalities. So the rulers of the world, insofar as they oppose God and oppose the church. Can it be the mark of the beast if you're tricked into it, like Google terms? That's a tough question. I'm not sure. Probably. Because I'd say probably because we have a certain responsibility to guard our eyes and to guard our actions. Now, it's the kind of thing that could be repented of, and it's probably, if it's committed out of ignorance like that, it's probably at most venial in terms of sin. It would not be mortal sin in that case, but it's still the sort of thing that damages your relationship with God. Oh, you're halfway through RCIA class. Well, welcome home in advance. Emily's Catholic. Want to understand better. Well, good. I mean, even if you're not actually converting, that's it is at least sometimes a great way of learning about the church. I say sometimes because there are RCIA classes that are not worth very much. My wife's RCIA class when she was converting before we got married, it was very feelsy and not particularly informative, unfortunately. So it wasn't great. But that's an exception more than the rule, thankfully. But yeah, I do think that things like that, like things like the Google terms and conditions, For example, getting the vaccine before you knew that it was going to be a requirement. Getting your fancy little card that all of us with functioning brains saw it and said, no, that's an ID card. That's going to be used to limit people's access to society. Don't do that. And then a bunch of people were like, no, look, it's just a medical record. It's just so you know when to take your next one. It's just a reminder card. And I was like, okay, cool. Why don't you write it down on another piece of paper and throw it away? And no one would, of course. They worshipped the thing. And even the people who didn't worship the thing were still careful to keep them. See, it's the kind of thing that you can wander into accidentally, but that kind of habituation can affect your virtue and affect your vices, and it can turn into a kind of idolatry. Oh, you know what concupiscence is. That's good. It's a good, again, good, useful term. It's more or less temptation, but it's more like the part of you, the part of your soul, which tends towards temptation. It's probably the simplest way of putting it. All right.
Hello, Professor.
Let's move on for now.
Did you
Happy to continue discussing.
Tower?
Let's see.
I did. Professor Bakar is a keeper you have yet to encounter. I'm glad to see that I was correct in presuming that we would meet again soon after our last encounter. Though I surmise, based on the commotion I heard, that you did not have an easy time getting to me.
We did not, Professor. We encountered goblins outside the tower.
That goblins were aware of my vault is disquieting enough. But if they have also made a connection
Your
to
vault's
this
at
tower,
Gringotts,
then
Professor.
the threat may be greater than I thought. All
They
the more
should know.
reason for us to move forward. Downstairs, near the entry, a reservoir of ancient magic, like those you've seen before, has been unlocked. Commanded to access a doorway. I'm afraid I cannot say more.
Cool.
As Professor Fig cannot join you, he and I will, in time, see you back at the map chamber. Remember what you see.
We're going to need to understand how Ranrock's loyalists knew about a tower that once belonged to a keeper. For the moment, however, you've more important things to set your mind to. A reservoir of ancient magic, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Then I shall leave matters in your increasingly capable hands. That said, be careful.
I will, sir. I'll see you back in the map chamber.
So are any wizards Catholic? Presumably. Don't see any
A
reason why they
reservoir of
wouldn't
ancient
be.
Magic, downstairs, near the entry.
We know that they celebrate Christmas. And that celebration of Christmas is largely Christian in nature, not merely sort of English cultural. And so there is the presumption that that probably the majority of Christians are at least wizards, or sorry, majority of wizards are at least Christian. And I would presume that at least some of them, probably regionally, it might depend on regions, but I would presume that at least some of them were Catholic. I'll also say, though, on a related note, that it seems as if some levels of paganism, and like neo-paganism, have been sort of creeping their way into Rowling's Wizarding World, not through her additions. That's basically just slander against her. But through a lot of sort of derivative and fan works. Excuse me. Through a lot of derivative and fan works, there's been a trend towards. This is going to be a combat, I can tell. Is it not? I guess not. Okay. There's been a trend towards paganism. All right. That the kind of fake neo-paganism. I mean, not paganism in the historical sense even. Wizard. Okay, so religion never comes up for wizards because the Wizarding World is written by modern writers, and modern writers don't take religion seriously. That's why. That's really all there is to say about it. Even Rowling, who had a sort of
impressive,
I guess, automatic respect for Christianity,
Let's have a look around.
didn't particularly take it seriously. She just had a sort of cultural respect, because she's English. But again, she nor any of the authors that make any derivative works, mostly being moderns, took it particularly seriously as a significant factor in anyone's life. So that's why, really. It's a writing flaw, more than it is a hello. More than it is anything that says anything about the actual characters or the actual world. So, no thanks, as maybe I should take it by a second priest to have a better overall understanding. Do you have a recommendation? What do you mean? As for like just taking a second RCIA course, or about a particular issue?
More traces of ancient magic.
I will say,
different.
I'll say this: if you are taking RCIA with a priest, you're already better off than Erica was. When Erica was taking her RCIA classes, they were with the a sort of parish outreach person, whose specific job was RCIA and things like that. And that's really dumb. RCIA and basically things generally of that nature. And it's not necessarily going to be worse or going to be better when a priest is teaching. But it's probably going to be better when a priest is teaching. So that's, again, you're already on the right track. We're taking online. Okay. Pre-recorded. Oh, I would definitely recommend in person, if at all possible. I mean, as for like socialist wizards, fascist wizards, you kind of do. I mean, the Ranrock's loyalists are sort of racial identitarians. That's an ideology. Not a very respectable one, but it's an ideology nonetheless. Where is it? Oh, it's this one. Yeah. Oh, okay. So if you wanted to, okay. If I know if there is a priest who's better at explaining it, yes. If you're just looking for a general overall big picture understanding of Catholicism, I cannot recommend highly enough the series titled Catholicism by now Bishop Robert Barron. At the time, he was Father Robert Barron. This was, I think he made this in the late noughties. So like 15 years ago at this point. Oh, he's got an axe this time. Wonderful.
Expelliarmus.
Absolutely excellent.
Protego. Stupefy. Flipendo. Expelli. Accio. Defendo. Incendio. Levioso. Protego. Stupefy. Flipendo.
Finish him off. So, okay, yes, racial identity is inherent, but not racial identitarianism. Not forming the basis of one's ideology upon one's racial identity. That's what I'm talking about. That is, I've actually talked about this with Ranrock and the Goblin Loyalists before, that this is sort of their thing. This is really what makes them what they are, and it's, again, they're not just for all goblins or in favor of all goblins. Not at all. They're in favor of, like most racial identitarian groups, they're in favor of the members of that race which maintain their ideological purity, so to speak. I'm not going to mess with that yet. Can I go over there at all? No, I can't. Okay, never mind. We do have to do this. Hebrew roots type. Kind of a Hebrew roots type. Kind of Messianic Jew meets Seventh-day Adventist. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Eclectic. Eclectic, but I can see the appeal.
Accio.
Whoops. Wrong thing. That one. Whee! Oh, come on. There we go.
Accio.
What did that burst of magic do?
It got me through,
More
obviously.
statues.
Do you think racial identitarianism is the norm? I don't quite think so. I think that. Oh, geez.
Expelliarmus.
I think that, I guess you'd say that accepting the fact that you exist as a member of a certain race, that isn't necessarily racial identitarianism, or even sort of a in-group preference isn't necessarily racial identitarianism.
Arresto momentum.
That didn't work.
Confringo. Expelliarmus. Arresto momentum.
Resto momentum did not work, like, at all. Oh well, it's fine. We managed. Yeah, in-group preference is not exactly what I would call racial identitarianism. For it to be identitarianism, I think it has to be. You have to think of it as in some way fundamental to your political being, right? That one's politics centers around being of this or that race, rather than simply, being of this or that race.
Depulso.
Oops, wrong spell.
Accio.
Whoop. Okay, so I need to go through that thing. How? Wait, I know how. Just go through it. Duh. It's easy enough.
Accio.
Aim it. Okay, but now what?
What did that burst of magic change on both sides of the archway? Something must be different.
Well, yeah, but like...
Seems I ought to explore this archway from both sides.
Oh, I get it. Tomb Raider Zelda. Okay, so why would anyone make this room? It is very specifically a puzzle room. Right, so this is a trial. This is some kind of like a trial of cleverness. That, what's his name? Rackham made to test a potential
I'll never get used to
potential
these
student. It's test. It's a test made by a weird eclectic magic professor. And quite frankly, it's exactly the kind of nonsensical test that any good, halfway decent, strange professor would make.
Expelliarmus. Depulso. Arresto momentum. Expelliarmus. Confringo.
Ow.
Depulso. Glacius. Expelliarmus.
Get rid of that one.
Glacius. Flipendo. Flipendo. Expelliarmus. Confringo. Flipendo. Expelliarmus. Confringo. Protego. Stupefy.
Ow.
Expelliarmus. Flipendo. Confringo. Glacius. Depulso. Confringo. Arresto momentum. Expelliarmus. Depulso.
I don't know why I was having trouble hitting them when they were on the ground. Well. Yeah, this game does have a good mix of social interaction, school RPG, and just straight up Tomb Raider, doesn't it? Oh yeah, definitely. No, I will not disagree in the least that video games desperately need this weird excuse, or an array of excuses to come up with absolutely implausible kinds of tests like this. I hope I don't totally screw this up. Gear slots are full. Well, that's bullshit. So if I pull this one towards me... No.
Now to see what's changed on each side of this archway.
Oh, that wasn't supposed to. That was not supposed to work.
Things are definitely different on either side of the archway. But how?
Maybe if I...
Accio.
Yeah, that's it. That was precarious. All right, we got it. Ooh, that's a good question. So your actions versus opponent's actions, what's the ratio? Oh, it's definitely way more than 4-1. Because you have the basic attack. You got that thing. Enemies don't use that. Almost at all. Enemies don't use that. Enemies almost exclusively used, like, named spells. Like, you know, that kind of thing. And so without those... Without the sort of just, like, constant chain of basic attacks, you're acting way faster than any of your opponents. Honestly, it more or less comes down to this style of combat, which is very obviously Souls-like. This is very obviously Dark Souls-inspired combat. It's obviously not, like, the same, you know, difficulty or complexity as Dark Souls. Or Demon's Souls or Elden Ring or anything like that. As Souls-like games. Hence, Souls-light.
Arresto momentum.
That did nothing to this thing.
Expelliarmus. Protego. Stupefy. Depulso.
Woo! Sorry.
Stupefy. Arresto momentum.
Should have blocked that. But you'll even notice, like, the difference between dodging and blocking is even there. That's definitely a Souls mechanic. It's very dodgy combat. The combat is very dodgy, but there are also specific attacks that you can dodge and specific attacks you can block, and they're telegraphed differently and all that stuff. Like that.
Expelliarmus. Stupefy. Depulso.
I mean, I had it, so I might as well use it. Oh yeah, so the unforgivable curses. The reason I don't use those is because I don't have them yet. I don't actually have them unlocked. I haven't learned them. Honestly, I don't even know if Avada Kedavra would even work on these guys. That's actually interesting.
Leviosa. Confringo.
I mean, they're not living creatures, so the killing curse might do nothing to them. Lightning works. I didn't realize that was going to happen. I should have, though. It was well telegraphed. I'm just dumb. We knocked him off the center. Can I levitate over attackers? Like, levitate myself? No. There actually isn't a spell for levitation. Not self-levitation, at least. You could use the broom. Actually, I don't know. Can I? No, I can't. Well, I can't here, technically, for whatever reason. For gameplay reasons, I can't use the broom here. But, as for, like, in-universe, why it wouldn't work, presumably casting on the broom is much more difficult, which is actually quite noticeable. Like, you can't actually cast spells while you're on the broom. Got it. Except for, I think you can cast utility spells. I don't know if you can cast Disillusionment Charm. I know that you can cast Revelio. Because you can always cast Revelio. But yeah, honestly, it's gameplay reasons because they didn't want to do flying combat. Flying combat introduces an entire interesting level of difficulty and design that I'm sure they had no particular desire to try and get that to work. They didn't even make Quidditch a thing. So, you know. I gotta destroy something. These. And that. Just in case there's a couple of things in this chest I want to get. Yeah, he's stomping on the ground. It does seem like floating, flying off the ground to any degree would actually deal with that problem quite well. So let's watch this, and then I think we're going to call it a night, because it's basically midnight. So levitating boulders and then dropping them on things, there's an upgrade to do that. The ancient magic throw is basically that. You're just picking things up and chucking them at them. Basically telekinetically. But you can actually do that with their weapons. If you get a certain one of the upgrades, you can use Expelliarmus, knock their big giant axe away, and then throw the axe at their head. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty nice. The problem with it is it's pretty niche, because it only works on armed enemies, so it doesn't work on any monsters or creatures. And I don't even think you can do it on wands. So I don't think it works on dark wizards.
The world around you is remarkable.
That is impressive.
What is it?
Just being able to spawn things
My
out of nothing.
father isn't getting better.
Or grow stone.
I don't think he'll ever recover from the death of my brother.
It is agonizing to see those we love suffer.
Mm-hmm.
The drought was years ago, but the pain of losing him is as deep for him now as if it had happened only yesterday. He doesn't need pretty pillars, he needs peace. What if I could help him, Professor?
You do so much for your father already.
It's not enough. I want to take away his pain.
It is tempting, I know, to use this magic that you're mastering to transfigure more than the physical world. But human emotion is a potent force unto itself. Even the most well-meaning and competent witch cannot possibly know the consequences of irrevocably manipulating it.
So I'm to watch as my father's pain destroys him.
It is not your pain to take. Every year a student sees something sillier than I could ever imagine in their tea leaves. Oh, Miss Morganach, welcome back to Hogwarts, Professor.
That's going to take some getting used to. Professor Rickwood?
I was so pleased to hear that you'd accepted the position of Defense Against the Dark Arts, Professor.
As far as like writing spells goes, it's kind of vague.
I was
it's implied that spells are discovered more than they are just kind of made.
That would be delightful. We shall let the others
They're
know.
variably referred to as spells being invented or discovered, and it's not quite clear what that process is. Never really made clear as to what it takes to invent or discover a spell. Like, what do you need to do? How do you make a spell? What are the limits on that?
To find a way out of here.
How do you figure out what incantations to use? How do you figure out what wand motions to use? All that.
Stone.
You know? So
that must be the way back to the map chamber.
Yeah, here we go. So it's never quite clear what you actually need to do to come up with spells of your own. It's to come up with an actual useful spell is seen as pretty rare. Their invention of spells is a lot like invention of Muggle technology. There are lots of them, but most of them are variations on existing spells, and a lot of them are silly and frivolous. So, yeah. Oh no, you have to be appointed, and you have to have some expertise in the matter. Usually from real-world experience, presumably.
I'm a student at Hogwarts, sir, and this is Professor Fig.
Professor Charles Rookwood at your service. Has someone completed the first trial?
I have, Professor Rookwood.
That said, there doesn't seem to be any kind of wizarding higher education. You pretty much stop school at 18, so yeah. I don't know about that. That's a little odd, because again, but when Muggle and Wizard societies diverged in the late Middle Ages, there was already a flourishing university system. So why there is no wizarding higher education seems very strange to me. I don't quite get it, but whatever. Yeah, it seems like the spells might pre-exist. That's kind of implied, but why they're in Latin then? I mean, it's God language, I guess. There's that, but I don't know. It's odd. The magic system in Harry Potter has rules, but why it has that rules is anyone's guess. Either Rowling didn't know why it had those rules, and she was just kind of implementing it as she went and wanted it to work a certain way for narrative purposes, or she's got some rationale behind the screen that she hasn't shared, which she has lots of that. If you actually look into any of the documentaries about how she wrote the books, she has a lot more background knowledge and information about how the world works than she publishes. A lot of it made it into those little supplemental books. A lot of it made it into consulting stuff. Some of it got into Pottermore, things like that. But I actually don't know if that's an aspect that she'd considered or not. And I mean, I wouldn't put it past her not to have, because that's the kind of thing that the sort of rules to magic, reasons for the rules to magic, things like that. That's a pretty high-minded philosophical concept, and storytellers aren't necessarily high-minded philosophers.
We saw you in the Pensive in Gringotts with Professor Rackham.
Indeed. So, you found the portkey to access Professor Rackham's vault, and you deciphered the map within the locket you found floating above that Pensive.
I did. I found something that I can't identify floating above the last Pensive.
Ah, yes. You will find a similar artifact in each trial. You must take care to keep them safe. You'll need them to complete the journey we have set forth for you. Once you have them all, we will tell you what to do with them.
Very well.
I mean, I'll say there's a parallel question as to whether technological inventions pre-exist their discovery. Are they discovered or are they imagined?
Involving the goblins.
And if they, I mean, the Platonist view is that even, technological inventions pre-exist. They exist as forms.
They and their mentor, Professor Fig, not only encountered goblins lurking outside of Sambakar's tower, they also encountered a powerful goblin in my vault at Gringotts.
I'm afraid it would be wise to halt the trials until we know more.
We shall defer to you in this matter, of course.
I mean, it's the same thing with the religion point that you made earlier. Like, why isn't religion, important in the
There's a connection to Victor?
to the people in the world?
But
It's because modern people don't think like that.
If any. For now, tell
I mean,
me what you saw in the pensive.
Broadly secular modern people don't think like that. Norelling certainly is a broadly secular modern person.
With Professor Rackham about using magic to remove pain.
This is an interesting topic, but we have literally 0 minutes left tonight, so I'll get into it another time. There's plenty more to discuss about it.
Ramrock knows. I will be honest. I've no idea where to start.
The whole taking away
I
pain
might know
thing.
of someone. I saw Serona at the Three Broomsticks speaking to a goblin once. They seemed friendly.
Well, it's worth a try. See what you can find out. Of course, don't forget
My studies. Yes, sir.
Do your homework.
Before you go,
Before I talk to him, because I guess we're going late, I guess. I don't want to go late because I have class in the morning, but to rephrase the question, do inventions pre-exist their discovery or their invention? In other words, is the coffee mug eternal? Is the form of the coffee mug eternal? Did this exist in the mind of God before it existed in the mind of man? It's a good question. Platonists will say yes, Aristotelians will say no. Scotists will say no. Okay, so there's 3 positions on this that make sense. The position that, yes, they pre-exist in the mind of God, we are just discovering them, we're rediscovering them and implementing them. That's the Platonist position. The Aristotelian position is that no, they don't pre-exist, and the actual substantial form of the coffee mug doesn't actually exist as such, as a form. It is like a form. It is an artificial form. It's just what we impose on this thing. So this thing doesn't have a substantial form, just the ceramic it's made up of does. Then there's the Scotist view, most popularized by Peter van Inwagen in the 20th century, late 20th century, which is that yes, the coffee mug does have a substantial form, but that its creator created that form. Its inventor created the form itself, not just the thing. They created the idea. We, in the Scotist position, which I think really derives from Anselm, more or less, he extrapolated on it quite a bit, we are co-creators with God. We create things in the same way, ex nihilo, that God created the world, creates the world. And I like that position. I am very sympathetic to that position, and I think it's correct.
Professor?
have you encountered swirling traces of magic in the world?
I have a video on the
Aside
subject.
from
I'll put it in
those
the description,
along
actually.
path,
Not that I recall. What are they?
evidence of the Keeper's efforts to manipulate the power of ancient magic during our time. If I am correct, and I usually am, you should be able to use them to inform and enhance your own magic.
Thank you, sir. I will look out for them.
So I'm going to add here that, like I said, I think that the Scotist position, that the human inventor actually created... Oh, it's autumn! Beautiful. The human inventor actually created the substantial form of, say, the coffee cup, or take your pick, any artifact, thing that you make. You don't like a coffee cup, go with a pen, right? A house, a desk, a chair, a computer, right? Whatever you got, right? That it is created in the same way that God creates the world. So this is the Scotist position. Like I said, Scotus really elaborated on this position quite a lot. But it's also, I would argue, the position of J.R.R. Tolkien.
I should ask Serona.
That we are fundamentally sub-creators.
The broom upgrade's ready. Stop by the shop when you can.
Okay, we'll do that next time.
I hope you will see me about a pressing and highly confidential matter at your earliest convenience. I
Next
believe
week,
that
okay.
we may be able to help each other.
There was a time before evolution had devised the wing. The question is, was the wing invented by evolution or was it discovered? Arsenism discovered. That's an excellent question to leave off on. That is spectacular. Yeah, I don't know. That is a good question, and I don't even know if the question makes sense. I'm like I said, I'm not fundamentally sure that that the question is even a coherent question, but maybe it is. I'll think about it. But that's all the time I have for tonight. Absolutely, I really do have to go because, like I said, I have class at 9 in the morning, slightly less than 9 hours from now, during which I need to get my things ready, actually sleep a little bit for once, and actually get to class. So, thank you all for joining me. I had a wonderful time. I always do. I love this game. I love chatting about it with you guys. It has so many really interesting philosophical points to discuss, and I'm glad we got into so many of them. And I look forward to continuing these discussions. Like I said, time and schedule permitting, I will see you on Monday for more Jedi Fallen Order. Continuing on Dathomir, dealing with zombies next week. So yeah, zombie witches. That's always fun. And then we'll be right back here, probably dealing with more zombie witches. I'm sure there will be Inferi around. So that'll be next week. Look forward to, hopefully, a video or two coming up in the near-ish future. I'm planning on recording one of my classes next week, or at least part of it. So that'll be edited throughout and be out sometime late next week. I have another video in the pipeline that I need to plan out and get done in the next month or so. So we'll see how all these things go, and I'll keep working on them. So, exciting things to continue. If you want to follow along with our class, like I said, in the description you'll find a link to the playlist for my ethics seminar. Feel free to follow along, and feel free to discuss what we're talking about in class. I always love doing that. I know it's my day job, but I like doing it at night too. So, and if you do want to help me continue doing all of this, if you like what I'm doing, want to see me continue, and especially if you want to preemptively help maybe offset the cost of that roof repair that is looming over me as it happens, ko-fi.com/Professor McCoy is where you can do that, and I will greatly appreciate it if you can. Anyway, thank you all again for joining me, and especially in this hurricane season. Remember, don't be safe, be well. More importantly, be good.